He pulls out a pellet gun and he loads the pellet gun and he gives it to me. And he says, why don't you shoot me if you see me move? He says, don't shoot me right away, but I have no chance. But when you see me move, you can shoot me.
All right, this is the Chazz Palminteri Show. It's Monday at 11 o'clock. You know what that means. We have a new guest. But before I bring him on, I just want to remind you about my one-man show playing all over the national tour, all over the United States. Go to ChazzPalminterishow.net, and you will you see the dates on the screen right now. Those are the next dates for October, November. So just go to ChazzPalminterishow.net, and you will see where I'm doing my one-man show, a show that was voted #1 show of the year in Las Vegas and a hit on Broadway. Okay, my next guest. You know I don't do Zooms too much, but I've been trying to get this guy for I don't know how long. And he said I can only do a Zoom because he's so damn busy. So before I bring him on, I just have to tell you about this guy. This guy was the UFC heavyweight champion. That's right. The UFC heavyweight champion. After just 2 fights, he came in and became the UFC champion. He was 3 times world champion. I hope I'm saying it right. Pancras. Is that how that's right? 3 times world champion. He ended his career 22 unbeaten. 22 unbeaten fights. Unfucking heard of. He is a legend in the mixed martial arts. People say that, oh, he's a legend. He's like, no. This guy is a fucking legend. Okay. Bas Rutten, here he is. Bas, how are you? And wait a minute. He's one hell of an actor, too. We did a series together. I did a guest star. He was on the series. And he's one hell of a damn actor, too. So, Bas, how's it going, Bas?
It's going great. What an introduction, Chazz. I mean, coming from you, my friend, that is so cool. It was so cool to meet you in the first place all the way back when we did that TV show.
Yes, that was really that was great with Kevin James, and we had a ball doing that. So, Bas, so many things I want to talk to you about. The first thing is this: when you were before we get to the UFC, you were 3-time champion in this art of pancras. Now, what makes that really different than the UFC? You would say.
Pancras was, and we actually started fighting before the UFC. My first fight was a couple of days ago, 30 years. I mean, it was 30 years ago I fought my first fight, September 21st, 1993. And I believe the UFC started in November, had their first show of 1993. So we were just before, but these were Japanese rules. So Japanese, they wanted, in the early days, pro wrestling was real. And they wanted to make that again. They wanted kind of a pro wrestling organization, but there's real fights. So what they would do, because they're really good with leg locks and good with submissions and less with striking, they say, hey, let them put shoes on. Shoes with leg locks, you can ask every fighter, very bad, very hard to escape. Also, open hand strikes to the face instead of closed fist. But closed fist to the body, you can kick the face, you can knee the face, you can do everything else, but only open hand strikes. But having no gloves, that would be very easy for chokes again. You see, so it was adapted to them. It was a really weird kind of style for people now who follow mixed martial arts. But I truly believe that if you bring it back, because they had these rope escapes like you see in pro wrestling. So imagine I get you in a choke, but you can touch the rope with your head or with your foot. I have to let you go. But then again, that's the same as getting an 8 count. You lose a point. So if the fight goes the distance and you grab the rope once, you're the one the guy who's going to get losing.
Wow. Yes.
And they had 8 counts as well. And now people go like, wait a minute, mixed martial arts had 8 counts. Now, let me explain you this. So I have, let me see, on my record, for my 28 wins, I have 11 knockouts and 14 submissions. But if you look at my record, how many submissions I did 43 submissions and way more knockouts. But that's because the 8 count and the rope escape. So I believe those guys from Pancras, I believe 7 guys from that small organization all became UFC champion because of that reason. Because now if you're fighting somebody, and I got him in a choke, but I was not strategically removed myself from the rope, and he can touch the rope, boom, he gets a lost point, but you start on your feet again. So you have more ring time. Every time you start another, sometimes I had 4 fights in one night, so to say, because after you got somebody and he touches the rope, you have to get back on your feet. You got more experience. And that's why, again, I believe so many guys from Pancras became a UFC champion.
Wow. It was like great training for the UFC.
That was it. Yeah. And I started beating the UFC champions already over there. And then we had the matchmaker coming, John Peretti at the time. He wanted to see me fight. And after the fight, he said, hey, you want to fight in the UFC? I said, I always wanted to go. So that's where I got it. And
you became a UFC champion. I mean, that's incredible. You were world champion in 2 different martial arts. I mean, that's God almighty. I mean, I have so much respect for champions. I mean, for not even the champion, for people who just do what you do. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, Bas, how good you guys are. They think, well, I'm a tough guy. I could fight this guy. And I look at them and I go, listen to me. This guy will. I remember there was a guy. Because I boxed, but never professionally. But I still boxed. But I was fooling around with this guy once. He wasn't even ranked. He was probably in the world 20th a fighter. And he said, well, let's spar a little bit. And I said, I really don't spar too much because I'm an actor. So he said, nah, come on, we'll just do. Bas, it was like when I threw a punch, one was hitting me in the face already. He knew when I was, he watched my shoulders. It was a joke. Yeah. It was a joke. And I said, oh my God, this guy could kill me right now. And I had another guy who was 11th in the world in judo. He was in the Olympics. And I was in the gym with him, and I said, his name was Mark. And I said, Mark, I want to wrestle with you. Just, I said, I just want to feel what it's like. He treated me like like I was my 5-year-old son. Yeah. Every time I would grab him, he just pushed me out. So I tell people out there, you want to fight a champion, a guy who's professional, don't even think about it. I mean, Bas, when you're in the car and somebody cuts you off and they jump out of the car and they bang on your window, what do you do?
Nothing. I just tell them also. I said, most of the time I explain the situation. If it was my fault, which very rarely is, but if it is, I explain the situation. If it's his fault, I explain the situation as well. If they're emotional, I say, come on, let's calm down. This is stupid for this. Yeah, but if they continue, of course, you're going to have to do something. And thankfully, I never had it. The last time I had that it was so funny. I came from my gym and I shoot on the road. And a guy like this stocky, tattooed guy with a flat top starts honking the horn and he starts flipping me off. And I'm looking behind me to see if there's somebody else. It means somebody else. You say, no, you bald asshole. And I go, what's going on? He says, you want to go? I go, sure. If you want to no, you want to dance is what he said. And I go, sure. He says, park the car over there. So we parked at, I think it was the Jack in the Box. And but when I got out of the car, he realized. So he pulled the car closed and he opened his window, very tiny. And I go, dude. He says, yeah. Obviously, you can beat the crap out of me. I go, no. This is not it. I said, don't worry. I'm not going to do anything. What did I do? And he said, it looked like you came onto the road. I said, did I come on the road? No. I said, but it looked like, and that's why you want to fight. And he's looking at me. I go, are you serious? And he says, yeah, it's kind of stupid, right? I go, that's what I'm saying, man. Come on. I didn't even do what you thought I was. It makes no sense. You see, so most of the time, those situations, they make no sense. Right. It's the same as drunk people. I try as a bouncer. I try to diffuse. Right. And then if it doesn't work, most of the time, grab him in a choke. A choke well applied is the most safest thing on the planet. Trust me. You don't want to beat the guy up when he's all messed up the next day.
Yeah, Joe Rogan. Doing, so. Joe Rogan said that. He said, actually, if you fight a guy who's a black belt or any belt in jiu-jitsu, that's probably a good guy to fight because he's not going to hurt you. He's just going to put you to sleep or put you in a hole and say, all right, just relax now. You're going to be okay. Yep. As opposed to fighting a professional boxer or something where you're going to get your head bashed in,
That what you said when you rolled with Mark, I had that. I was a badass striker, won 9 fights by knockout in a row, went over to a gym for the submission game. Right. And on the way back, I had to stop my car next to the road. I called my wife. I was so destroyed. They cleaned me up, armbar, choke. I thought I could hold choke. So I mean, they're crushing my windpipe, and I'm just trying to fight everything. I had to eat liquid food for 3 days.
Wow.
My wife was laughing. She goes, "This is it, right? You're never going to be back." I go, "Oh no, I'll be back. In 6 months, I'm going to tap all these guys." And I did. So that was the good thing. But it was a bad day.
Did you study Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Bas?
You know what I did? I taught everything myself. Like, people don't understand. My first 11 months in Japan, I worked out on the back. And maybe once every 3 weeks, I would go to Japan, to Amsterdam, and to roll with the guys there. But somehow, sometimes when I went over, they didn't even want to roll. I don't know what was going on. And I didn't have no partner. So then when you said with the 22 fight beating on streaking, what happened was, after my last loss by Ken Shamrock, he got me in a knee bar, which is, well, they can break your leg pretty much.
Yeah.
And then I became very vocal. I go like, okay, I have to find somebody. And I start asking everybody. And I found this one kid who was 19 years old at the time, Leon Van Dijk, crazy striker, crazy athlete as well. And we just start watching fights and watching instructionals. And then I realized, wait a minute, if I do it like this, a little different, it's better. Oh, wait a minute, I can have a better setup for this, because everybody knows this setup. Maybe if I create 3 or 4 different setups for that. And I started, and I became insane. Chazz, I woke up my wife in the middle of the night at least 6 times, where I would dream a submission. I would put her in that submission. I would write it down. I would ask her for it. This is 100%. You can ask her. I would write it down. And then the next day, I would try the whole house with little Post-its with combinations leading to certain submissions. And that was it. This is the fun part. So I lose my last fight by submission. Then I win my next 8 by way of submission. And now these people go like, what the hell is going on? And I never lost a fight again. Just because I made a conscious decision. You got to, and listen, everybody can do this. I always talk, they say, yeah, but you, Bas, yes, I have talent, but I'm not like these really freaking talented guys. I'm really not. But
no, Bas, you're very gifted. You're very gifted for somebody to do that. You got to, come on, you're gifted.
Yeah, but I do it all day long, Chazz.
Yes,
I do it 3 times a day, 2 hours, 6 hours a day, so.
Yes.
Boom, 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 boom.
You put the work in. Yes, you put the work in.
You put the work in, and you do triple the amount of work, you're triple as fast as everybody else.
I watched a lot of your fights, and even before I met you, I watched them. I said, man, this guy you had that kick to the liver or the punch to the liver. And my God, one thing I always said as a boxer, I teach my son, and my son's a wonderful boxer. I said, Dante, you could punch somebody in the face and they could take a good punch. They'll come back. But if you catch them right in the liver, he's going down. Yeah. I mean, do you agree with that?
Oh, same story here. I was a great karateka. I was beating everybody up in my gym, and I was going to be this badass Thai boxer. My first class in Thai boxing, because karate is no punches to the head. So my hands were here. And I'm facing a professional guy who figured me out really fast. So when he punched me in the face, since I was not used to it, I overcommitted to it. So I set myself up. And within 3 combinations, he dropped me with a body shot, liver shot. And I never experienced that before.
Wow.
And that was it. I go, okay, I got to know this. I was completely in shock. I couldn't do anything. And completely clear-minded. I go, man, this is a perfect weapon. And that's when my love for the liver shot comes from. But I got dropped really freaking hard to first class again.
Yeah, but one thing about you, like, you get a defeat and then you learn from that defeat and become even better. It's amazing.
No. This is exactly what you're talking. I'm actually having a Planet Boss. It's a thing that I do for Muscle and Fitness, and I just came out with an episode that they can see on muscleandfitness.com, and then go to Muscle and Fitness Plus, and then Planet Boss. And that's exactly what you're talking about now. I learned from my mistakes. I show you a fight where I lost with Ken Shamrock, for instance, that knee bar, and then you see me 2 fights further fighting another guy, and I do exactly the same setup. I use exactly what Ken Shamrock used on me. I do it on him, and I did that with a few fights. So I lost by that, but then I took it to myself to learn that, and then I actually want to fight with it. And it's pretty fun to see, because that's what you say. If you learn from your mistakes. I never was down. I was never destroyed. I see these guys that are crying. I go, dude, you have to work harder. That's what it means. I mean, I just lost. If I know how to defend this, I'm going to be a stronger fighter. So let's work. That's how I always thought about it.
I noticed, I mean, the UFC really evolved. Like in the beginning, you took over, then Hoist Gracie, was there. But then I remember when it happened, it was like really strange. I watched this fight with Hoist Gracie and Matt Hughes. I remember, and all of a sudden, Matt Hughes was wrestling. He had all the things, and he was just stronger, and he was able to combat Hoist, and then he beat him. I remember, and he
Yep.
won the championship. And people said this is the new level now in the UFC. I remember that when seeing that. So do you think that today, to be a world champion in UFC, you have to be good in everything? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you have to be 100%. Now, there's still some guys who prefer certain things. Like, this is what 100% you need. Wrestling is the glue. You need good wrestling. Like, I always sucked at wrestling. That's why my ground game just became good. Like,
Right.
like I said, I had 41 submissions. I never took anybody down. That means that they took me down and I submitted them. You see, but need to be either a good wrestler and a good striker, or a good wrestler and a good ground fighter. Because if you're a good striker and you can stop a ground fighter with your wrestling from taking you down, you can knock him out. And if you're a really good wrestler, so you can take anybody down you want, and you're a really good submission guy as well, then you're going to be succeeding as well. Best thing is, of course, to know everything. And trust me, these crazy athletes we have right now, the level is so much higher. I mean, the
Right.
rules, the weight classes,
Wow.
it's a science. I mean, the women, I don't want to fight the women. They're so strong.
Right. I know. I mean, my son, who is 27, he's been studying with Gracie Jiu Jitsu. Like I said, he's a great striker, but he wanted to learn more. He likes it as a hobby, That's all, just for a hobby. And he trained, and he's a white belt. He's about to be a blue belt really soon. He's a white belt and about to be a blue belt very soon. He's been studying about a year, okay? And him and I were fooling around. I, he just
No
like,
chance.
no chance.
Yeah.
I get him down, and he goes, "All right, Dad, you get on top." I get him down, so he goes, "Hold me down." I hold him down, and I try to get him in a choke him, and all of a sudden, he gets me in a triangle, and I can't breathe. I mean,
Yep.
but my arms like this, and he's got me in a triangle. I can't
Yeah,
breathe.
yeah. Others here. You're locked up.
Then I go, "All right, don't do the triangle. Don't do it." He goes, "All right." I hold him down, and I'm holding him down like this. He gets me in Ezekiel.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I'm winning, and the next minute I know I'm tapping
Yeah.
out. And
That was the good.
he's not even a blue belt yet.
That's, I tell everybody, so in the beginning, we all thought that striking, those guys were the man. And
Right.
we thought that, that groundwork, that's for sissies. Look at them. It's like, even the word gay was mentioned. Remember, and all the way back, they say, oh, it's for gay people, people. Okay, I tell you a story. This blows your mind. And it was mine also. So I see a move on a big screen a day before my fight. This is actually how I received my honorary 5th degree black belt with this story. I see a preview on a giant screen. We're talking a building big in Japan, and this is 94. And the first thing we see is me knocking out my opponent for my first fight. Is the preview for the next day. And I go, wow, all the fighters are there. We go, dude, that's so cool. I've been watching the preview, and I see somebody sitting in half guard, and he goes for an inverted heel hook. Now, it's too hard to explain what it is, but it's anyway, if your foot is like this, you reverse the foot to the other side, which is going to either dislocate your knee or your ankle.
Right.
And I'm looking at the 10th degree Kyokushin guy who stands behind me, who's Mazoyama is the guy who started, the founder of Kyokushin Karate. He's the one just below him, the highest foreigner there is.
Right.
John Blooming. And I'm looking, I say, oh, that's a cool move. I should remember that, because at that time I have no experience. So the next day I'm in the fight, and I'm in that position. So I go, I might as well try it. So I grab it, but since I never did it before, I had no clue the amount of pressure I was going to put on his knee and on his ankles. So I'm grabbing it, I'm falling back, and we hear something pop.
Oh.
Like pop. So I let go, and I think, okay. Well, I thought that was his knee, and the referee thought so, but he stands up and he feels his knee, And he goes, and I'm literally looking at the referee like, I heard a pop. And he heard a pop too. And he says, no, I'm okay. What we didn't know was that his shin bone was cracked. That's what we heard pop. So then he kicks me with that leg, and I just take the kick and flex into it. And then his leg wrapped around my leg, falls on the ground, broke his shin bone. And that was the moment that I go, oh, dude, we always thought that striking was for the toughest sport. Right. This, you can break any bone, you can dislocate any joint in the body. And not only me, your son, who's not even a blue belt, can pretty much do that already. That's how powerful that is. That's pretty badass if you think about it. Dislocating any joint and breaking any bone. I choose that above striking.
Wow. Like, here's the question I had for you, Bas. If you train fighters now, do you train fighters at all?
Not as much anymore. I just moved to Texas. I have a gym still in California, and right now I'm so busy, Chazz. You know, flying all over the place.
God bless. If somebody was getting into the UFC, would you say, what would you rather have? He was a natural great striker or a natural great wrestler? Which one do you think is better?
You know, it's so hard. Sometimes if you're a pure striker, somehow the mechanics are not there for the ground fighting. And somehow when you're a really great ground fighter, you're weirder on your legs when you're standing. So, and some guys, they just go really fast. You have a TJ Dillashaw or a BJ Penn. BJ Penn. I mean, this guy trains 3 years Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He gets a black belt. All the Brazilians in Japan say, oh, that's bull. That's not possible. It's a present. He goes to Brazil to the World Championships, beats everybody. This guy trained for 3 freaking years as a black belt. That's unheard of.
That's unheard of.
That's unheard of. And then he goes into the UFC, and that's where he picks up striking. He just stopped submitting people because he started knocking people out, just left and right. He became this really great striker as well. So you see some of these guys, that's why his nickname is the Prodigy, right? Because he's amazing. So, you know, it depends on the person and on what they're willing to learn. That's what I always say. A lot of people, they want to learn, but they don't really want it. It's really weird. They don't want to give everything for it. Like my last loss, that was it. It's not going to happen anymore. 3 times a day, every day. Forget about striking. I can knock out everybody. I don't need to strike. Only for stamina, I did Thai pads and focus mitts. And for the rest, I didn't even spar anymore. But every day, ground, all day long. And writing it down and being busy with it. And then you become good. And if a good wrestler or submission guy does that with striking, he has to become good because you put the time in it.
Wow. Do you still work out now in the gym? Do you work out?
Yeah. I do my workouts at home. I'm sitting actually here. It's the man cave that I just almost finished here in my house. And I got this thing. I like cable machine routines, punching drills. I punch and I pull back also. It's really good for the core, really good for every muscle. You're using everything in 35 minutes. You can do a workout that you get in the gym will take you an hour and a half.
Wow. Do you work out with weight? Because I'm always interested in what people do. Do you work out with weights at all?
I do a little bit with weights. I have to. I don't know if you can see. I mean, I can lean it up maybe.
No,
I had 4 neck surgeries.
You look like you got guns on you, man. I can see those guns.
Oh, yeah, but no. Watch this. Because it's all atrophied. Look, there's a whole hole here.
Right.
So what happened was I dropped on top of my head in a movie scene, actually. Didn't even happen in fighting. And it crushed my nerves. And it stops the nerves to the arm. So this arm became like a stick. And now I'm rehabbing the arm. This is already 11 years, 12 years now. So I'm not going to get it back, but I have to keep busy with it. So I have to do my biceps curls just to keep firing those nerves.
Wow. So you're now. This is a question I got to know. You grew up. You were born in what, Amsterdam?
No, all the way at the opposite. I'm all the way from the south of Holland, in a city called Tilburg. Very hard to pronounce.
So when you grew up, all of it, what this young guy grew up. What did your dad do?
My dad was a bookkeeper.
A bookkeeper.
Did the books for this big company.
How did you get into this martial art thing? How did that? People like to know that. How did that happen?
Well, it happened because when we moved from that big city, when I was 6 years old, we moved to a smaller village, Valkenswaard. It's translated into Falkentown. And somehow, when I came out of the womb, I was covered with eczema, but that went away. And when I was 6 years old, that all came back. I was the leper in school. That's what the kids called me. My hands would be so disgusting. If I would make a fist, like pus would come out. I had to wear gloves, long sleeves. I had it in my neck. I had it in my eyes. So needless to say, I was bullied on a daily basis. And then I had also severe asthma. So if my eczema would be really bad, I wouldn't have asthma. And if my asthma attack would come every 5 weeks, I would be a week in bed. Then I would, my skin disease would look better. It goes back and forth. A lot of kids out there have the same what I have.
Right.
You know, so when you get bullied for like 6, 7 years in a row, and then suddenly you see a Bruce Lee movie in a foreign country, Enter the Dragon, and I go, wait a minute, if I become like that guy, and that put me on the track. It took me 2 years to convince my parents to do martial arts. So 12 years, I saw the movie when I was 12. When I was 14, they allowed me finally. They got sick of me asking. I was taken under the wing by an adult who was dating my neighborhood girl. She was my neighbor girl. She was very pretty. And he was the man in town. Xavier was his name. Xavier, they say it here. And he took me to the adult classes. So as a 14-year-old, I was training with the adults. And in 2.5 months, I started dropping some of these adults. And then I overheard these guys talking in the dressing room about me. They say, man, did you see he just dropped Jack with a freaking kick to the face? Everybody was laughing. Man, that kid has a lot of talent. And once you start listening to adults, you know, there I'm the leper and there I'm a nobody. But I knew I was a great athlete. I've always been a great athlete. And then suddenly adults said I could fight. Boom. That led me into my biggest fight, my favorite fight in the world before my world championship, because this was the very first time I stood up for myself. I was riding my bicycle on the street, and there he was, the biggest bully in my school. Shaki was his name. And hey, leper, they were shouting something, and this time I shouted something back. And then everybody laughed, and I looked back, and sure enough, they started to chase me. But there wasn't a reason for chase, because I said, this is it, no more. And I put my bike on the stand. I get emotional speaking now. It's weird. Put my bike on the stand, they're surrounding me. And then he came in the middle of us, you know, and he started challenging me. Come on, leper, hit me. And I knocked him out. One punch. Boom. Paf. Out. And everybody was in shock. And I said, anybody? And nobody had anything. Because I guess they were just afraid of him. If you can win, beat him, join him. I don't know.
Wow.
And that was it, Chazz. That's when I started going after every bully. I made a list. I made a list of all my bullies. And I started checking off every freaking bully. Dude, I don't want guys saying, please, I don't even remember. I said, oh, I do. Boom. I was relentless. I couldn't stop it. And then it became my profession. So the bullies are actually the reason that I'm talking to you right now.
Well,
you see,
you know what? I do it. That's amazing. And I do a lot of people, you know, my motto is from my movie, The Saddest Thing in Life is Wasted Talent. So I want people to realize that are listening out there, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple. Here's a man, you just heard what he said. He grew up had asthma. He had, what was it? What do you say?
Eczema.
What else? Eczema, you know, and so if you have these things, he didn't let it bring him down. He said, what? You know what? I'm going to take this and I'm going to channel that energy and I'm going to do something about it. So if you're listening or you're watching, you know, it's all a matter of what you do. Here's a guy, who would think he had this? They call him the leper. The guy becomes 3-time world champion, a champion in the UFC. So guys, if you're out there, whether male or female, all you got to do is take the bull by the horns. I mean, Bas, you're a real inspiration to a lot of people, man. Really.
Thank you, Chazz. But you know, there's also people we all have our talents, and there's people, if they're physically not as gifted, they're gifted in their mind. They're much better minds, and they have to do something with that. The worst thing is giving up to certain people, and always positive. Like my friends say, how can you live with that? You know, how can you get there with the eczema? I say, well, what I have on my hands and the spots here and in my face, I know there's people out there who are covered from head to toe completely with this crap. And also with my asthma attack for a week, I know there's people out there who have that 365 days a year, who always have an attack like that. They have to move to Switzerland, to the Alps in order to get the oxygen there, you know, because it's cleaner over there. So there's always somebody. This is a rule that I made in myself. There's always somebody who has it worse than you. And if you think about that, you can deal with it.
Wow. Well, that's a great. I mean, that's just a great mindset. It's always thinking of the positive. Always thinking of, it's not as bad as you think it is. It's just not. Oh, it's not as bad as you think it is. So let's talk a second. So how's the acting coming? How's that coming?
You know what? I put it a little bit. I'm not really pushing it. I'm the chairman of Karate Combat, which is this newest. Well, we're almost there for 5 years now. It's a karate league. Karate.com. Go there and you can see it. It's free. Nobody has to pay. It's the first full contact karate league. We have Olympian karatekas competing full contact in a pit, which has like a 45. It's very classy.
I saw that. I saw it. I watched that.
Yeah.
Is that the real deal? Cool. Is that real, boss? I mean, that's the real deal, right?
No, 100% real. I'm the chairman of the organization now. We have a crypto coin. We have everything. You can gamble. You cannot lose. It's not gambling. It's upgaming only because Karate Combat takes only the losses. If you're smart, and I tell everybody, buy the karate tokens now. They're very cheap. You know as well, with crypto, it can go crazy suddenly. This organization is set up by a really big crypto guy who knows a lot about it.
Right.
It's the only one. I think you should, and you support the fighters as well. If you bet on
and
the
what
fighter,
is it called? What is it called?
Karate Combat.
Karate Combat. I want to write that down.
Karate.com is the website.
Karate.com.
And it's amazing. You can use those walls, 45-degree angle walls. You can run them up. You can take people down. You can ground and pound in karate. Can you imagine? Takedowns, ground and pound. You cannot submit, of course. And
no submissions.
No submissions, no holding. And the rest is everything fighting, and it goes, man. We have some really great fights. We just came back from the Dominican Republic, and that was a crazy show. Outdoor show. It's on there, Karate Combat 41. And like I said, it's for free. So now, check it out. I think you're going to love it. And your kids will love it. And even young kids will love it.
Is punching in the face allowed?
Oh, yeah. Everything is full contact. Knees to the face. Everything, no protection. Really tiny gloves, 4-ounce gloves. So they're really tiny gloves. Oh, yeah. Last fight, we had 9 fights. Last show, we had 9 fights, 7 knockouts. So people are going.
Wow. I mean, isn't it dangerous, boss, to get hit with a spinning wheelhouse kick? I mean, does anybody ever get really hurt? Like,
if we just had a guy, he lost. He was a last-minute replacement, but I saw tape on this guy. Oof, he made the spinning wheel kick, like you said, with the heel. And thankfully, he touched it with the bottom of his foot. But if he would have pulled his toes back and with the heel, with that kind of power, and I mean, the way he threw it, propelling it, yeah, it's a very scary thing, man. You go like that. That's a hole in somebody's head when that really connects. I have no clue why that didn't happen yet in martial arts in general, because it's everywhere. And you get some of these taekwondo guys, and of course taekwondo, it's not full contact, but trust me, they know how to kick full contact. And
wow. Now,
I have a guy, a friend of mine, Majid is his name. He was on the Pakistani team in what is it, taekwondo. His legs are almost as fast as my hands. It is. If I say that, trust me. He goes,
wow,
look,
yeah.
There I go, dude. First thing we sparred, I gave him like 3-4 low kicks really hard. And he goes, my legs. I go, exactly. I said, I'm not going to go through that crap. So I kicked right away and started kicking his legs. Had to slow him down. He's way too fast.
I watch these UFC fights and I see these guys, they do that. That kick to the thigh, and sometimes they check it, but they're still fighting, And I said, so again, I was playing with my son, and I could always bring up my son. And I said, Dante, all right, do that kick to the thigh, but don't do it hard. I said, I just want to feel what. So we put up he didn't even do it hard.
No.
And I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
How do these guys stand up after that? I don't understand that, man.
Yeah, it was my last fight. I fought after 7 years not competing. I fought in the Forum in LA, and I fought a guy, a last-minute replacement, because my original opponent, tested positive for steroids. So I fought this 265-pound guy. I had a rip out, so I couldn't punch really hard. And they said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to try to knock him out. If that doesn't work because I can't really torque because of my rip,
right,
I'm going to give him low kicks. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to take him down and go for a submission. Well, the low kicks worked. 3 low kicks. Fight was over. And that's a professional guy. You see,
Wow.
so people have no clue. They say, "Oh, kick to the thigh." Yeah, right. My Taekwondo teacher would say that. Until I started Thai boxing and I came back, I go, "Dude, this is crazy. It hurts." He says, "You cannot hit me with it. I just check it." I said, "You can't. Why not?" I said, "Because I'm setting it up with punches. I distract you first." He says, "Let's spar," he said. And it was poof, bam, kick, bam, bam, bam. And he goes, "Shit." I go, "Exactly." So then he started adding it to his program because it was literally within 2 minutes. He said, "We're going to have to add this because this is a real big weapon." And now you got the calf kicks too, right? Now they kick to the calves.
Yeah.
And if you lift your leg and your muscle is relaxed, there's nothing that keeps those bones. Now, the tibia, the front one is strong, but the fibula behind it, that's a little tiny bone. And if your muscle is relaxed and you get kicked, that will break. And you've seen this happening now a bunch of times.
Yeah, I seen that. I saw Joe Rogan hitting the heavy bag with his kicks. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Man, this guy's the real deal,
That's next level stuff. That's really next level stuff because I saw the way he does his back kick, what he risks, people have no idea. What he risks with a back kick, straight back kick to the back, that power, he needs to be 100% convinced that he connects. Because, boy, if he slips, if he misses the target, he's going to throw his leg out of the socket. There's no way with that power. So people go like, "Oh, that's a hard kick." I say, no, the danger he's taking. He knows. He did this 10,000, 20,000 times. Otherwise, he would never do that.
What did you
see
again,
a spinning kick?
A spinning kick. Oh,
he does also a spinning kick.
I saw it when he hit the bag. I was like, Jesus,
man. Yeah, he's an
somebody
animal.
better not mess with him. I saw him doing stand-up. He was very funny. I said to myself, somebody better not get up there and bother this guy.
Oh, he's good everywhere. He's smart. He's funny. He can do anything.
He can.
Dude,
he can.
I'm intrigued by him, man. It's he's a special individual.
Yeah. What do you think about? We're getting close, but what do you think about this thing called Krav
Maga?
Yes. What is that for real?
Okay, so unfortunately, there's a lot of bad schools out there. They don't do updated training. And this is just people that do stupid stuff. If somebody has a gun, they do this. Yes. The gun falls on the ground. Like all that stuff is the worst case scenario. You can never now it's a fight for the gun. It's just the dumbest thing there is. You need to control the weapon. Now, there is an organization called Krav Maga Worldwide. That's the only one I do with. And they add jiu-jitsu. They also add striking and kickboxing classes. And then they do the weapon defenses. And the weapon defenses they use are straight from the military, from Israel, and from around the world. If something changes, something happens, and that particular technique can be made even better, they updated it immediately. They gave everybody the notice. I met a friend of mine, Amir Peretz, and you can go on YouTube. He did Fight Science. They asked me if I could do gun takeaways. I said, yes, I can. I said, but you don't want to have me. You want to have that guy. You know how I met him? He came to my gym because we met each other in a club. With his brother was there, and I was with my friends. And that was the first time I was in America in '97. And he said, "Miguel, what are you doing here?" I said, "I live here now." He said, "Are you teaching?" I said, "Yes, I'm teaching at the Beverly Hills Jiu-Jitsu Club, which doesn't exist anymore." So he came to my class, and then after my class, he says, "This is great. I'm going to sign up. Can I show you what I do?" And I go, "Sure." So he pulls out a plastic knife. And I go, "You know what? It's cool. Don't worry about it." He goes, "What do you mean?" I say, "All that crap. I've been there many times." And he goes, "Okay." So he walks back to his bag. He pulls out a pellet gun, and he loads the pellet gun, and he gives it to me. And he says, "Why don't you shoot me if you see me move?" And I go, "What?" And my whole class is there. And he says, "But when you see me move, you're allowed to shoot me." He says, "Don't shoot me right away, but I have no chance. But when you see me move, you can shoot me." I did it like 5 or 6 times, Chazz. I couldn't do it. And the worst part, I'm standing like this. It goes, and he already hit me, and he has my gun. We're talking 200ths of a second. When you go on YouTube and you put his name, Amir Peretz, there is a moment where he grabs the gun away from a guy, and then he hits the guy, and then when he starts disarming, this is where the bullet comes out. He already hit the guy and almost did a complete disarm, and then you see the bullet suddenly coming out. All the slow motion is the most bizarre thing. The producer was freaking out. So those guys, they make it real, and then it works.
And that's so good. I mean, you're just like an encyclopedia on it. I couldn't wait to talk to you about martial arts. I said, this guy's like the father of martial arts. I got to talk to this guy. So, Bas, I'm so happy that I got a chance to talk to you. Definitely, when you're in town again, I want to have you on the show.
Yes.
I'd love for you to meet my son because he would love to talk to you. He saw your fights and he's like, holy, he used to say, Dad, this guy with these liver shots. I can't take it. I said, I know, man. He's amazing. So, because I always taught him the liver, always hit in the liver. But Bas, thank you for coming on the show. You are a gentleman. I wish you so much success, so much health first and wealth. God bless you. And I'd love to have you on the show again when you're in town, Bas.
Oh, 100%. I would love to 100%. So as soon as it slows down, I'm actually taking a plane in order to do it. I would love to be there.
Absolutely. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our show. Bas Rutten, again, 3-time world champion in pancreas, a champion in the UFC. I mean, this guy's a legend. He's the real deal. God bless you all, and I will see you next week.